So thank you very much to all of the speakers once again. I guess one thing that occurred to me when listening to you is that one of the key dilemmas for packaging is this tension between resource efficiency, carbon emissions, having efficient functional packaging, and trying to deal with the plastic waste issue. We have obviously plastic as a tremendously resource efficient product. Do we have to admit that we have to basically have a priority? We know that we can't immediately wave a magic wand and create a circular economy in plastics. We can't immediately replace plastics and without losing some of the functionality. Is there a case that in the short term that we have to decide what's the most important objective and what is the most serious threat? Gian, would you be able to answer that?
Yeah, I think basically, I mean, for me, plastics are still fantastic, to be honest, because they still have all the functions you would need in a package. But obviously, we have to work on the things which are broken, right? And the things which are broken is effective recycling at this moment. So I think you always need to evaluate case by case. So yes, there are cases where you actually can replace plastic packaging by a cardboard solution, whatever. But if the whole world now suddenly would move into that direction, then obviously we have other challenges which were also already mentioned by JOCELYNE, right? So I think case by case you have to assess it. We are also a company that are using a lot the use of life cycle analysis tools and so forth. But I think the first and most urgent thing to solve is the recycling challenge issue. And therefore, I think, again, everything starts with collecting more. If you look to Europe, for example, and I know the figures from Petcor, because obviously I'm active member in that one, but in Europe we are 200 kiloton per year short on collected materials. So there is an overcapacity of recycling, which today simply the recyclers cannot fill in their plants simply because we're not collecting enough, which is not normal, right? So those are the items where in the short term I think we should solve for sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Ian, would it be fair to say that you've come down on the other side of this dilemma, that if you have to make a choice, you need to prioritize plastic waste?
Clearly, we've made our pledge, and obviously that's to remove plastic. So when we're doing our product development now, for 2 years away, we are thinking about no plastics in that product development. So, we're starting right at the core of the development. Whilst recycling is going on, whilst the circular economy is going on, all these things are building a momentum up for all of us to improve our planet, I think. So we've now got the groundswell and the will to make a difference. We're just a small part of that, and we're influencing government. I was at the EU last week in Brussels. We're influencing a lot of people now to make the right decisions for the future. So whether the UK's in or not in, we've still got the same issue in Europe. We've got to improve what we're doing. But if you start in product development now, which we are, we're at the start.
Yeah. Are you at the same time monitoring the impacts across the whole supply chain of eliminating plastic? So, for example, I believe you replaced plastic packaging for bananas with a paper aggregator quite recently. Are you looking at the knock-on effects on food waste, for example?
Amazing. On bananas, for instance, 40 tons of plastic we got rid of by doing that. But amazingly, the bananas are still coming from Costa Rica in a polythene bag. And I can't get rid of that yet, which is driving me crazy. So we will get rid of it, and we've got tests underway because they've still got to breathe. And these are all the functionality of packaging that we've all been talking about, those crucial bit of functionality that somebody else hasn't invented that yet.
Yeah.
We invented these things to get us there. We've got to, just... And the other thing, it also came on a plastic carrier. This paper came on a plastic carrier again. That drove me crazy, so I had to try and change that. So there's always challenges on the way. But the good thing is, we got rid of 40 tons of plastic. That's good news.
Yeah. Norah, can I ask you where you stand on this dilemma and the issue of prioritising?
It certainly is a complex issue. I would say we sort of need to move beyond resource efficiency into resource effectiveness. There's no one simple answer to a multifaceted problem. It is exact examples like that where bananas are naturally packaged in their skin, and everyone knows that, and there's often an uproar about it. But the way that they are delivered, whether that be in packages full of empty space or in plastic wraps, it's a whole supply chain problem. So it's working together collaboratively to move beyond efficiency and using resources more efficiently to actually using them more effectively, choosing the right materials and using them in the right way.
Thank you. Philippe, I'd like to ask you whether are there any particular technologies or areas of innovation where you see a lot of potential for improving circularity?
Well, as I told you, we have a tough problem with polystyrene. By the way, we have 220 filling lines working with polystyrene worldwide, and the change of one line costs between 3 and 4 million euro. So you multiply, and even a company such as Danone cannot do that in 10 years' time. So I want everybody to have their foot on the ground and to remain realistic. What we really try to do is to find a solution for the absence of circularity of polystyrene, but it will take time, that people want it or not. We are testing different packaging materials that are new or that they are already known. We believe that, but I already said it in my presentation, that the future of new type of board packaging for substituting polystyrene is something that could help. But it will certainly not solve all the solution. I think that we will go for different type of polymers where they are sufficiently circular in the different countries where we put our products on the market. Because as Gian said rightly, Europe is not united in all the techniques that we have on collection, sorting and recycling. I was giving you the problem of PLA. PLA is is a biodegradable polymer in industrial facility. So it implies that you have to collect and sort it. Well, only Germany collect and sort PLA separately. So today we cannot use it in other European countries. So hopefully that will change in the future. But then you have the problem of the recyclers who tell us, please do not multiply the number of polymers because we can sort a maximum today of X type of polymer. So you see, we have conflicting issues.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. JOCELYNE, I'd like to ask you also about this dilemma. I think you were much more defensive about plastics and single-use plastics. How quickly do you think we can resolve this, and what is the route that we can take to doing so?
I think first of all we need to be maybe a little bit more balanced regarding the use of the different material, because again there is different function per material. What I think we should act immediately, this is this wasted space, the empty space in the packaging, this invisible waste. It's very easy to remove it. Well, very easy. It's easy, let's say that, to remove it, and you can have some cost saving with that. So it's the cherry on the cake or the icing on the cake. So this is the first thing. And you can save raw material and having something more efficient in terms of transport and logistics. So it's all great things to do with the wasted space as the first priority. Secondly, when you look at the plastic, we should, what is true for health, or in terms of the medical packaging, why we think that it's not true for food and beverage? Just as the question. So that's why I think that plastic may be useful in some occasion for some stuff, and removing it completely is a nonsense. Because at the end of the day, what we should prioritize? Is it human or is it the fact to use or not use plastic? I think with the 2 billion increase of people in the next years, we need to feed the people, and packaging can really definitively help to have and preserve the food.
Thank you. So I'm aware we're running out of time, and I'd like to give the audience the chance to ask a couple of questions. So a final question about circular economy. Where do you see, first of all, Gian, and then maybe Norah, the major roadblocks in trying to achieve this circular economy in plastics?
I think if Europe wants to achieve a circular economy on plastics, I mean, they have to start at the starting point, and that's really harmonized collection, right? And we talked it already a few times, but as a global brand owner or a regional brand owner, whatever it is, it's very difficult to develop a pack that fits in all the member states today, right? We have all kinds of different collection rules and sorting rules later on, but I mean, you have to start with harmonized collection. So every single country should go into one and the same system. Which system that is, I mean, that's obviously something people can evaluate, right? You can see how different member states are doing it today, at what cost, and then you can just select the one which has the best recycling rates at the lowest cost. And we believe for the time being that Belgium is one of the leading candidates purely on EPR collected systems, because our recycling rates are relatively high at good cost, we believe, right? So that's definitely something we have to start, that there's no confusion anymore. I mean, I'm here now in Sweden. I'm consuming a PET bottle, but I have no idea how to sort it out correctly. On top, as a regional brand owner, we have a lot of PET bottles. I just take Fairy or Yes brand over here, dishwashing liquid. I mean, it's a bottle that you can perfectly collect and recycle in Belgium, in UK, in France, and apparently here in Sweden it's just collected and burned. Why? It's difficult to understand. Yes, I understand the Nordics have invested in a lot of incineration capability. It's another story. But in order to make them more circular, I mean, it should be collected and treated everywhere in every single member state in the same way. And I'm glad that at least now the Commission is open to talk it. In the past, we've told them many times, but everything starts with harmonized collection, harmonized qualities of bales, harmonized quality then of the end recyclates, and then really can talk about good quality, high volumes recyclates that we then can buy back and put back into products. So that's I think where everything starts. Obviously with everything designed for circularity. I mean, let's go back to my 5-pillar chart, but collection is currently also a missing piece.
Yeah, thank you. Norah, is there anything you'd like to add?
I would completely agree with that. I'd say the collection systems, even just within the UK as well as Europe more widely, is very fragmented. And then also the question mark of energy recovery using plastic waste is, where does that really fit within the circular economy when it's good material that can be reused? Maybe not a roadblock, but an interesting point is that now a lot of our waste is being rejected, whereas previously we could send it to other countries such as China for it to be processed, and they don't want any bales of waste that are contaminated beyond sort of 5%. That means that a lot of this waste is now staying in Europe, and I don't know if we're ready with the infrastructure to handle that, because we haven't had to up until now. So I believe that the innovation is out there, the technology is out there. It's just whether or not we're ready to process more waste.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to open up to the audience. Are there any questions that you would like to put to our speakers?
You're talking about the material R&D product development, and I think we all know that material R&D is a very slow process compared to, for example, commercializing a software. So what kind of tools and collaboration do you think we need in order to get the new technologies, the new materials faster to market? What kind of tools do you need, and what kind of collaboration do you need for that?
Okay, so the question was, packaging R&D is very, very slow compared to software or something like that. And therefore, what are the kinds of tools or calibration structures that we require to achieve the kinds of rapid innovation that we need?
For instance, I found a film that works, but it's got a shelf life of 6 months. I need it to have a shelf life of 2 years. I can't accelerate that shelf life test. I've tried, so I've got to wait 2 years. That's really frustrating. And what I've said to the universities and what I've said to people who's got all the equipment, and how can we speed some of these cycles up to get these materials in quicker, depending on what recycling methods we go for. Because if we go in the UK, for instance, for compostability, which we might do, then how do I know how that's breaking down in an industrial compost if I haven't tested it yet because I've got to send it to Germany or whatever? So all these things are a massive issue. And you're absolutely right. I can't go quick enough, and neither can you. So any help that we're getting, and we're getting quite a bit of help from the board mills, from the plastic companies. Obviously, I'm trying, some of the plastics we keep talking about, and I hate this war on plastics, I hate that word. We're turning down the tap on plastics, and one of the things that's coming out is that you can re-crack those plastics. Oil is cracked into different materials. We can actually re-crack those carbon and hydrogens back into better materials. So why do we not do that either? So if we can reprocess it back into carbon, hydrogen, that's something that breaks down the water and dissolves. These have got to be the things we need to accelerate. So whatever help, universities, companies, everybody working together, if I win one of these, I'm not keeping it to myself as a personal win or an Iceland win, I'm sharing it. And that's the right thing to do. Sharing it with my other retail friends, sharing it with the brands. And if we're all coming together, we all keep coming together with another one and another one, and everyone's got their own incentives to do that, that's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant because we'll win quicker if everybody collaborates.
Do we think that the state of collaboration across the industry is healthy at the moment? Is there anything that needs to be improved in that respect? Anyone?
But I think not only between industry, I would also say that we need politicians that have a little bit courage. There is a legislation that was voted in some countries a couple of years ago not to give for free light plastic bags in the retailer's shop. Well, it works perfectly since that was voted in the country that has voted that. Now, with the obligation to collect 90% of the bottles, of the beverage bottles, it's very difficult for us. But you see immediately that that will change the rules of the game. And you will see depository fund schemes that will start to be organized everywhere where you don't have those schemes in parallel with the classical collection schemes that will have to continue for the other materials, of course. But if the politicians are not there with sometimes tough legislation, we will not go forward. And that is also the reason why packaging waste management and waste management as a whole is so dramatically bad in emerging countries. Because in most of those countries, you have practically no legislation at all. In a country such as Russia, bijvoorbeeld, the second most important country for Danone on a commercial point of view, you recycle 5% of the plastics that are put on the market. You have practically no legislation at all for packaging waste management. You have more than 1,000 décharges sauvages, how you say that in English? Dumps. More than 1,000 open dumps. And you have, sorry to say it, in each of the provinces, some mafia practices on the waste. How do you want that things progress in such countries? That's impossible. So we need really to, I don't know how, I'm not God, but I don't know how such things, all the problem of packaging waste management could improve in those countries if we do not lower a little bit the mafia practices in those countries. Huh? You have to tell how it is. Huh?
Yes. So tragically, we've run out of time. We could keep talking until at least the end of tomorrow. But thank you very much to our 5 fantastic speakers.